Okay, I have a question to ask you all. Is it really that hard to figure out when you're supposed to take a pitcher out?
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I've been a baseball podcaster for a while now, and we're going to be soon wrapping up my sixth full season here at the Locked On Podcast Network. And this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use all lowercase LockedOnMLB as the code for first deposit match up to $100. Find us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called now. And on Instagram, I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And if you listen to this show or Locked On A's, the other show I've been hosting this year, and you want to post something on social media, then use the hashtag everydaysully, and that lets us know who's listening to us. Let's go one last little piece of business here. The trivia question. Someone got the trivia question correct. The question was, who is the only rookie of the year, only person to ever win rookie of the year, to then go on and eventually clinch a World Series, be the pitcher on the mound when the World Series is clinched. And those of you who know me, and I know I do, you know that I'm fascinated by the concept of the pitcher on the mound when the World Series has been clinched. A couple of you guessed David Price. David Price was the number one overall pick, and David Price did indeed clinch the 2008 American League Championship Series for the Tampa Bay Rays, but never clinched the World Series. The correct answer, and Stephen B. Knox at the Fort of Knox on Twitter says Steve Howe. And Steve Howe is correct. He was the 1980 National League Rookie of the Year, and he was the pitcher on the mound when the Dodgers clinched the 1981 World Series at Yankee Stadium. Okay, this is a Saturday edition of Locked On MLB, partly because, between Locked On A's and Locked On MLB, just for whatever reason, I couldn't get them all in between Monday. I couldn't get 10 episodes in between Monday and Friday, so you're going to get a Saturday episode of both. And who knows, maybe I'll throw in a Sunday. But let's talk about who owned baseball on the 30th day of August, 2024, because that's going to lead into a couple of things we're going to talk about here. DL Hall pitched very well. The Brewers are on a roll right now. They swept the Reds in a doubleheader. One was an extra inning game, and then DL Hall pitched in the 14-0 blowout. The Brewers are just absolutely cruising to a division title right now and are going to be interesting in a short series because they can pitch. Manny Machado, remember him? He got 3 hits, hit a homer. The Padres won a slugfest against the Rays. The Yankees are settling into a nice groove, and Austin Wells is no small part of that. He homered twice as they doubled up the Cardinals 6-3. And Framber Valdez, we'll get back to him in a second. Half Wobbs. Andrew McCutchen, I think this his last season? I think it was mentioned it might be his last season. Hit a double and a homer. The Pirates are just sinking again. They lost to Cleveland. And Cleveland is riding their ship a little bit as they won, and they got a little bit of distance from Kansas City, even though Seth Lugo pitched wonderfully again. His Cy Young contending season continues as he struck out 9 Astros in 7 innings. But the Royals lost that game in the 9th. I'll get back to that in a second. Yandy Diaz got on base 3 times, including a home run, but the Rays lost to the Padres. And Adam Oller struck out 8 Giants in 6 shutout innings, but he didn't get the decision, and the Marlins lost 3-1, which will bring us to the first of the why is it so hard to figure out when to take a pitcher out that happened on Friday night. All right. I know I'm playing a little bit of armchair manager here, And I know that can be really obnoxious for people when you're like, okay, uh, you're not a real manager. They have a hard job. They know it better than you. Fine. That's why I asked the question, why is it so hard to take pitchers out correctly? I didn't say it's easy, but evidently it's harder than I think. Evidently, the process of knowing when to take a pitcher out is complicated. As I'm sitting on my couch at the Locked On MLB studios in Pasadena, California, overlooking the historic Rose Bowl, it seems evident when to do it from my end. And it seems sometimes like, wait a minute, maybe you shouldn't do this then, maybe you shouldn't do that then because of longer term thinking. It's some of the things seem evident. I talked about this in Locked On A's, that there was a game recently where Ross Stripling threw 3 pitches, got out of a great jam, and he had 3 total pitches. He threw more warm-up pitches than pitches. And then they went to the 9th inning, and they brought in Mason Miller with a 3-run lead. And I thought, like, why don't you just have the guy who only threw 3 pitches? Why are we burning through Mason Miller? Miller got the save, but Miller wasn't available for the 3rd game. And the bullpen blew the 3rd game. The A's lost a chance to sweep. What I'm saying is, I'm watching it like, I think I understand what to do there. So why doesn't the manager do this? Fine. I'm watching San Francisco versus Miami last night because, I live the life. My dog Eleanor was sitting next to me, and I'm watching the Giants game. And it's one of these games that if you're a Giant fan, and I know my mom is a Giant fan, and she follows the Giants every day, and I knew this was the type of game that was going to frustrate my mom because Blake Snell of the Giants pitched a terrific game. But the pitcher I mentioned before, Adam Oller, pitched 6 shutout innings, 8 strikeouts, through 90 pitches. And, okay, they lifted him. Now, I don't know everything about Adam Oller. I don't know why he was absolutely stymieing the Giants. But they lifted him after 6 innings. And by the way, if you're saying, well, maybe he struggled in the last bunch of innings. Well, the 5th inning, he struck out all 3 batters he faced. And then the bottom of the 6th, he let up a walk. But then he got through an inning with, again, no hits, no runs, and blah, blah, blah. So they lifted him. And then it was a no score, and they took the lead. So maybe they thought, okay, we're going to go to our bullpen to preserve the victory. Another example why we have to get rid of the win stat, because if you're managing to make sure someone gets a win, then eliminate the stat, because that's a ridiculous reason to manage. Okay, fine. So they bring in Mike Baumann, and Baumann lets up a hit, but he gets out of the inning. Okay, Baumann comes in and he pitches in the 8th, and he gets into a jam. He gets into a bases-loaded jam. And with 1 out and bases loaded, he strikes out Michael Conforto. Okay. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, the guy now has a little bit of momentum behind him, a little bit of confidence behind him. He got into a jam, but he strikes out Conforto. And so now it's 2 outs, the bases loaded. And he maybe has a little bit of mojo. He walked the previous batter, Ramos, on a full count. He almost got him on the strikeout. Okay, but it wasn't like the Giants were clubbing him. He let up a single. He walked 2 batters, 1 on a 3-2 count, and he strikes out Conforto on 3 pitches. 1, 2, 3. And I'm watching the game thinking, okay, now he's got his mojo back. And so what happens? Lift him. Right then and there. You got your mojo back. Good job. Now we're gonna lift you and bring in George Soriano. Now I barely know who George Soriano is. I do know that he didn't come in with a sparkling ERA. I know it's not like, okay, we're going to bring in Mariano Rivera or Koji Uehara or Brad Lidge in their seasons where they're dominating. They're bringing in George Soriano. While Baumann just got a clutch strikeout. 1, 2, 3 strikes. He looked awesome in that sequence against Conforto. And I said out loud, why the hell are they doing this? I mean, you lifted the pitcher. Okay, fine. You lifted the pitcher when you did. Why the hell are you bringing in this person who has to come into a bases loaded situation instead of the guy who just showed a little something? And so what happens? They get 2 strikes on Chapman. Then he doubled into the gap. All 3 runs scored. Final score, it made it 3-1 Giants, and that was the final score as Ryan Walker came in and, got him 1-2-3. Why was that? Someone explain to me why you make a move like that. Again, it's not like George Soriano is in the short list for Cy Young contenders. You just had a pitcher get through a tough sequence with, a Conforto, 1, 2, 3 strikes, struck him out on 3 pitches. And now anything, a pop-up, a grounder, anything gets him out of that inning with a little bit of, okay, I got it, a little bit of a peacock walk because he was a little down when he was at a 3-2 count and walked the previous batter. Now he's got it back. So then you bring in some schmuck from the bullpen. I'm sorry, some schmuck from the bullpen who's not exactly, this is not exactly someone with a great track record. This is not someone who's been a dominant pitcher. And then he immediately coughs up the lead. Someone explain why that happens. Why that would even, why you would do that. Why you would kill the momentum. Why you wouldn't say, all right, Mike, you're on the verge of getting out of this jam. Oh, by the way, in terms of another strange stat, the hold. I understand why the hold exists. Middle relievers want to have some sort of stat to use, like the save or the win. There's no way to do it. Well, like the save and the win, the hold is a well-meaning stat. But it's insane because Mike Baumann got credit for the loss. Okay? In terms of win-losses, he lost the game. But he also got a hold. What value does a positive stat like a hold have if you could get the hold and the loss? You can't get the save and the loss. How did you? I guess, do they even each other out? Well, he held the lead. Oh, that's good. Yeah, but he lost. That's insane. But almost more insane is the idea of, hey, let's bring in a pitcher at this point. Baumann at that point had thrown a lot of pitches. Granted, he'd thrown a lot of pitches. So is that it? But he just got out a batter, and he was 1 pitch away from getting out of the inning altogether. I don't understand it. When we come back, we're going to talk about the other game, which when I was watching it, I actually threw my hands up in the air and said, I don't get it. Let's talk to our friends from Liquid IV. Look, I'm going to be going to a couple more baseball games. I may go to one this weekend. But it's hot out here in California. It's really warm. And you got to stay hydrated. And how are you going to stay hydrated at the ballpark? You going to do it drinking sodas or having the ice cream out of those plastic helmets? No. You got to use Liquid IV. And when you're taking in America's pastime, don't forget to hydrate with Liquid IV's popsicle firecracker flavor. It's a surefire summer hit. Get hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powdered hydration brand in America. Because baseball and summer go together like Liquid IV and indulgent hydration. Now, let's talk about these flavors that are all available on the website. Blast off with the iconic summer flavor of popsicle firecracker, a festive blend of citrus-fueled lemon, lime, tart cherry, and raspberry flavors. Find all your favorite flavors on the site from acai berry and lemon lime to pina colada. Tear, pour. Live more. 1 stick plus 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. Powered by LIV Hydroscience, an optimized ratio of electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients that turn ordinary water into extraordinary hydration. 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, 8 essential vitamins and nutrients, always non-GMO, gluten-free, dairy-free, and soy-free. No more thirsty summers when you indulge in hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code MLB at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop for better hydration today using the promo code MLB at liquidiv.com. That site again, liquidiv.com. This is a reminder that Locked On has created the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel for sports news. Locked On Sports Today is available on YouTube 24/7 and also on the Amazon TV app of the Free Fire TV channel app. Check out Locked On Sports Today, available wherever you get your podcasts. All right, the other one, and I've said this before, and I've said this to this team before. Ronel Blanco was throwing a no-hitter earlier this year, and it would have been his second no-hitter of the year. And he hadn't thrown that many pitches, and he got lifted, and eventually the no-hitter was lost. All right. Framber Valdez, who, like Ronel Blanco, has already thrown a no-hitter in his career with the Houston Astros. Like Ronel Blanco, is a very good pitcher. And just, I think it was last week or the week before, took a no-hitter to 2 outs in the 9th inning, and then he wound up letting up a home run to Corey Seager. And so he didn't get the no-hitter, and he didn't get the shutout, didn't get the complete game. But, he got 8 2/3 innings and 1 run. I think most of us would be happy with that. And, they let him complete the no-hitter. Or attempt to complete his attempt for the no-hitter. Framber Valdez was pitching a key game for the Houston Astros last night. And I have to preface this a little bit. I do understand a little bit more about situations like an Astros-Royals game than a Giants-Marlins game. The Giants are peripheral contenders, and they need to go on a massive winning streak to get into anything. The Marlins stink. But the Royals and Astros are playoff teams right now. The Astros have the Mariners barking at their heels, and the Royals are trying to leapfrog Cleveland to win the Central. So I understand that you may not always be managing for individual achievements in something like this. Kind of like when they had the combined no-hitter in the World Series between Houston and Philadelphia a few years ago. I didn't mind that it was a combined no-hitter because the main job the Astros had was to win Game 4 of the World Series that year. They were down 2-1. I get that to a degree. So maybe it'll be a little more lenient to this, but not really. It was a matchup of aces. Seth Lugo, who was putting together an extraordinarily unlikely Cy Young contending season for Kansas City, brought his A game. As I mentioned before, 7 innings, 1 run, 9 strikeouts. But Framber Valdez was being Framber Valdez, and it was a thing of beauty. And he came in 1-2-3 first, 1-2. He faced the minimum in the second. Struck out the side in the third. 1-2-3 fourth. 1-2-3 fifth. Okay. Oh no, he let up a walk in the 6th, but it got through it. And then in the 7th, he did hit Perez. And he did walk for me. So he pitched more than he probably would have liked to. There were 2 runners on. But then he struck out Lofton, not Kenny Lofton, Nick Lofton. Fine. And through 7 innings, he had a no-hitter going. And this is a legit ace. Framber Valdez is one of the real aces in baseball right now. And while he did throw a bunch of pitches in the 8th inning, I grant you, he was still under 100. He was still under 100 pitches and throwing a no-hitter. And he was an ace. And this is a big series. So maybe you don't want to start dipping into the bullpen before you need to. So naturally, I need to do something about my headphones because they keep slipping off my ears. So naturally, they relieved him. And in comes Brian Abreu, and he got the first 2 outs, and I thought, all right, this could be a combined no-hitter. I guess that's cool. And then he let up a single with 2 outs in the 8th. So we get nothing. They Willy Wonka it. And then in the Astros tacked on an insurance run. In comes Josh Hader, and Bobby Witt Jr. Gets on because of an error. And then Paul DeJong hits a game-tying homer. Now, if one of the batters, Michael Massey, MJ Melendez, Kyle Isbell, or Michael Garcia hit a game-tying home run in the 8th off of Framber Valdez, I think that would be easier to swallow because you're letting your ace throw a no-hitter. And so DeJong hits a game-tying homer. And so I'm at that point, I thought, like, if this game goes 14, 15 innings, and the Astros have to burn through a bunch of relievers who may not be available in game 2, then they don't deserve anything. Well, then Jose Altuve, who like him or hate him, I am actually indifferent about Jose Altuve. I do think he's a Hall of Famer. Got a walk-off hit. And so the Astros wound up winning the game. Valdez had an amazing line, 7 innings and no hit ball, but can we please let our aces finish their no-hitters? Oh, and by the way, the win stat. Who got the win? Let's break this down again. 2 pitchers pitched marvelously in the Kansas City-Houston game. Framber Valdez, 7 innings, no hits, 7 strikeouts. Seth Lugo, 7 innings, 1 run, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. Who got the win? Who gets to walk away saying that was my game that I won? Josh Hader, the guy who led up the game-tying home run, got the win. Folks, I do think it's time to retire that stat. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more than or less than a 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the PrizePicks community today. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000 and sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus guaranteed. And PrizePicks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including Texas, Georgia, and here in California. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks. You get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. Hey, thanks so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen. For your second listen, this may be a little strange, but hear me out. Check out Locked On A's. Why? Well, it's hosted by me, your pal Sully. And it is a look at this team that's having a much better year than you're thinking going into this year. They're going to avoid 100 losses for the first time in 3 years. But also, it's their last year in Oakland. It's very emotional, and we're doing some interesting shows to pay tribute to this strange but fun franchise. You can find the link to Locked On A's wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. All right, one last piece of fun baseball happened last night. Samuel Aldegheri pitched for the Angels last night, and he is the first pitcher or the first player to be born and raised in Italy. There have been players who have been born in Italy and have been raised in America, but who have made it to the Major League Baseball. But Aldegheri is the first one born and raised, a true Italian. He was born in Verona, born where Romeo and Juliet took place. And he made his Major League debut for the Angels last night. And I'm hoping this is part of if not a full tidal wave, then certainly a trickle. I want all the best players from the world who can play baseball, playing baseball in Major League Baseball. I want them from all over the world. We know we already have players from Japan. We already have players from Korea. We already have players from Mexico and the Dominican Republic and Cuba and Puerto Rico and Venezuela and Colombia and some from Australia. I want them all over Europe. I want them all over Asia. I want them all over Africa. I want them from New Zealand. I want them from every, we've seen players from Hall of Famers from Panama. I want all from all over the world playing Major League Baseball. And if this is the first of many to come up from Italy, then I love it. And by the way, Aldegheri got a wonderful introduction to Angels baseball. He retired 2 of the first 3 batters he faced, then led up a double to Randy Arozarena. No shame in that. Randy Arozarena is a good power hitter. And then an error was made by the shortstop, Nito, which is kind of a ball that ricocheted off his glove. And then in came 5 unearned runs. The Mariners were up 5-0 before the Angels came to bat, and not one of those runs were charged to Samuel Aldegheri. He wound up pitching 5 innings. He let up 2 earned runs, so he did get the loss. He let up 5 unearned runs and 2 earned runs. So that's kind of a cruel introduction to Angels baseball. But hey, hopefully it's the first of many players from Italy and from all over Europe coming over to America. I think that'll be a lot of fun. So good luck to him. And let's go to the trivia question. Can you name, and you may not be able to name all of them. So if you only can name 1 or 2, that's fine. Can you name which major league team's single season home run leader, the one with a single season home run record, is still a player from before the 1994 strike? For years and years, the Yankees' single season leader for home runs was Roger Maris. And now it was Aaron Boone. He's going to hit 62 home runs again, probably. And there's always been the narrative that the strike happened, the steroid era exploded, and all the home run records started tumbling. But which teams still have a pre-1994 strike year as the single season home run record? That is your trivia question. Is it convoluted? Yeah, but it's something I've been thinking about. So put it right down here on YouTube or on Twitter, whatever it's called now. And we're at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram, and Locked On MLB on Twitter, and same handle for Instagram. Talking about the art of taking pitchers out and wondering if it's harder than I think it is. This is Locked On MLB. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.